أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا أطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول أولي الأمر منكم فإن تنازعتم في شيء فردوه إلى الله والرسول إن كنتم تؤمنون بالله واليوم الآخر ذلك خير وأحسن تأويلا. So for the last few weeks we have been discussing certain issues with regards to salah, how to make the saf or the sufuf, the rows correctly, how to fill in the rows, what should those people who perform their salah on a chair do, how should they fill the gaps. And we've been talking about a few issues like this. So today we'll carry on with another issue, and it connects to why we started the explanation of the 30th juz. The famous hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So Mu'adh ibn Jabal radiyallahu anhu, who is known as faqih hadhihi al-ummah, faqih. So in our terms we say mufti sometimes, isn't it? So faqih is a high level. A person who has a strong understanding of deen, a strong understanding of Quran and the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then he is able to derive rules, derive ahkam, masail, what we call. So Mu'adh ibn Jabal, he was one of those people who Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam praised. He was also the same Sahabi who Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told him that, "O Mu'adh, I love you." Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told him directly, "Inni la uhibbuk," I love you very much. And then he told him that do not forget to say at the end of salah, "Allahumma a'inni ala dhikrik wa shukrik wa husni ibadatik." Famous dua, most people read it. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam advised Mu'adh ibn Jabal radiyallahu anhu that recite this after every salah, fard salah. So continuing from this, the same Mu'adh ibn Jabal, it is mentioned in Sahih al-Bukhari, etc., that he used to perform Isha in the masjid of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And then he would be an imam in another masjid. So at that time, ulama differ, was it permissible at that time to read behind an imam and then to lead Isha again? Now generally, the ruling is you cannot combine, or you cannot read two salah, the same salah in the same salah time. You can't read Isha twice, isn't it? So then they interpret, either the ruling never came down at the time, the ruling that a person cannot read Isha twice, or a person can read Isha behind once and read another time. The ruling was open before. Otherwise, some ulama interpret, say that it's possible that the first Isha, he used to have the intention of maybe fard or nothing. And then the second Isha, which he used to read, he used to have a different intention. Whatever the case is, there is debate. So Mu'adh ibn Jabal radiyallahu ta'ala, who used to read Isha in the masjid. He used to read Isha in the masjid of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, behind Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then he would go to his own local musalla. Some people say the musalla of Banu Salima, and then he would be the imam. So obviously there is a delay. There is a delay. It's not like now where we have a salah time. Isha, what time is Isha today? 9:45. So 9:45, iqama adhan is given and then the salah starts. No, the Sahaba radiyallahu ta'ala anhum would wait for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to arrive. Whatever time he would arrive, that is what time Isha would be. Yes, there are mustahab preferred times for salah. So it is mentioned, sometimes Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam would be delayed. People were occupying his time, and then he would come delayed, and Sahaba would wait in the masjid. So Mu'adh ibn Jabal would perform Isha in one masjid and then go to his own locality and lead the salah in his locality. So when he arrived at his own musalla and then he led the Isha salah, he started with Surah Al-Baqarah. Sometimes my brother says as a joke, Surah Baqarah purje. So he read Surah Al-Baqarah. So again, these are early days. What should a person read in salah, etc. This was taught later on. So Mu'adh ibn Jabal radiallahu ta'ala started reading Surah Al-Baqarah. So one of the other companions radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he left the salah. He left the salah and he read his own short salah. So when they saw this, and Mu'adh ibn Jabal radiallahu ta'ala learnt of this, he said, you are a munafiq, because you left the salah and you read your own salah. So that person, he went to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and he said to him, this Mu'adh, he came to lead salah and he started Surah Al-Baqarah. And how we say in our terms, I got to work early in the morning. That's how we say, isn't it? I got to work early in the morning. So I left the Jama'ah and I read my own Isha and then I went home. I have to feed the animals, etc. So Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told Mu'adh ibn Jabal, أَفَتَّانٌ أَنْتَ يَا Mu'adh? Are you causing fitna in our terms? Are you causing trouble, O Mu'adh? This is a person, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says later on, فَقِيهُ هَذِهِ الْأُمَّةِ. He was learning. He was learning to be a mufti, a faqih. So he was teaching him. So now ulama, they talk about this issue. That when Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam asked him, أَفَتَّانٌ أَنْتَ? Are you causing trouble, fitna? The issue was not that he lengthened the salah. That's a different issue. The issue was, why did you call him a munafiq? Why did you call him a hypocrite? So obviously Mu'adh ibn Jabal thought in his mind that the person left the jama'ah. And anybody who leaves the jama'ah, the whole, the group, then he is not a pure Muslim. So it is important in Islam to stick to the jama'ah, to the whole, to the congregation. But Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam reprimanded him that this is not wordings you should use. And then Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told him, on the other hand, that whoever leads salah, they should shorten it. فَلْيُخَفِّفِ الصَّلَاةِ, should shorten the salah. Why? Because among the people, the musallin, who I am also, there are old, there are young, there are those who are weak, and there are those who have some need, meaning they need to leave. Okay, so Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentioned in some hadith 4 things. Kabir, Saghir, Da'if, and Dhul Haja. 4 things. So he was teaching Mu'adh ibn Jabal, who was to be a imam, he became a judge in Yemen for a time also, that this is how you lead. Understand that you should shorten your salah. And then he told him what he should read. He said, what you should read are surah or chapters similar to سَبِّحِ اسْمَ رَبِّكَ الْأَعْلَى هَلْ أَتَاكَ حَدِيثُ الْغَاشِيَةِ لَا أُقْسِمُ. He mentioned certain surah. The people ask me also, why do you always read the short surah? They ask me, why don't you read from somewhere else? I do. Sometimes I read from there. Most of the time I read from there. So what's important to understand is the fuqaha. They are those who have the true understanding of deen. مَا يُرِدِ اللَّهُ بِهِ خَيْرًا يُفَقِّهُ فِي الدِّينِ. Whoever Allah wishes good for, He has granted him the understanding of his religion. So the fuqaha radiyallahu ta'ala anhum ajma'in, there were those who would spend their whole day and night in trying to derive rulings from the Quran and from the Sunnah and from the statements of the Sahaba, the Athar radiyallahu ta'ala anhum ajma'in. They would spend their life in it. Not part-timers, come 2 hours, read a bit and then go home. They would spend their life in this issue. And they would debate with other scholars and teachers and students around these issues. So what you see across the board is that ulama, they have this chapter. What is preferred or preferable to read for the imam? Now everybody has comments. That's why I said this ayah. I said it last week and I said it again. O believers, obey Allah obey His Rasul, and obey those who rule the affairs. And if you differ with regards to an issue, فَرُدُّوهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَالرَّسُولِ, then refer it back to Allah and His Rasul. Refer it back to the Quran and Sunnah in our age, and the kalam of the Sahaba and the Fuqaha radiyallahu ta'ala majma'in. That's where we gain our understanding from. فَرُدُّوهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَالرَّسُولِ إِن كُنتُمْ تُؤْمِنُونَ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ. If you believe in Allah and you believe in the Day of Judgment, then when you differ with regards to an issue, then refer it back to Allah and His Rasul, you will find the answer. So when you see the Fuqaha, we already mentioned the hadith, they mention that the Imam in the Fajr Salah and the Dhuhr Salah, they pair the two up. They say the Imam should read from Tiwalul Mufassal. Tiwalul Mufassal. Now they differ exactly what's the amount or the portion, but it begins from Suratul Hujurat. Suratul Hujurat in the 26th juz, and it goes all the way to approximately Suratul Buruj. Approximately. Some people a bit before, some people a bit after. In Fajr and Dhuhr. So that's why you will see the Imams generally, they do recite. Even in our masjid, they recite these surah from 26, 27, 28, 29, going towards the first part of 30. Isn't it? And then in the Asr and the Maghrib, and then the Asr and the Isha, they're similar. And they are the Awsatul Mufassal. Awsatul Mufassal. That's the portion after. From approximately, again I'm giving approximates because they differ among the schools. From Suratul Buruj till Suratul Bayyinah. Some people bring it to Suratul Duha. Whatever the case is, medium surahs. Yeah? Just like Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said in this hadith, why didn't you read Sabbih Hisma? Why didn't you read Hal Ataka? This falls in between this, isn't it? Suratul Buruj to Suratul Duha or a little after. And then Maghrib is the last portion of the Quran. But remember, this is not fard. It is mustahab. So the fuqaha, that is what they mention in the books. That this is what the imam should read. So that is what we call takhfif as-salah. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he is not such that he would tell everybody that you have to do or you have to shorten the prayers and he himself would lengthen. No. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is rahmatul lil alameen. Who would care more about the burden on the people than Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? So if we want to learn what is takhfif as-salah, what is shortening the prayer, then even in this we will follow the sunnah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. There is nobody today who is more merciful upon his musallin than Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would pick whatever is easy for his ummah. So much so that it is mentioned that if Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was leading a salah and he would hear a child crying, he would shorten it even more. Because the child was crying. Today what would we do? Why is he crying for? Why did you bring him to the masjid? That's what I was talking about last week. Why is he crying? Why bring him to the masjid? Sometimes people will have to bring their child to the masjid. Isn't it? That's sometimes. I'm not saying bring small children to the masjid. I'm not saying that. But sometimes, dhul haja. Sometimes a person is forced or in a situation where he has to bring his young child. And the young child starts crying. Instead of shouting, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would shorten his salah. Why? So the parent will not worry. The salah is finished and he can now go and attend to the child. This was the mercy of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, in his salah, whatever he recited, that is the established sunnah. In that sunnah there is rahmah. There is mercy for everybody. So an imam who will follow the sunnah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in his salah, in what he recites, then that should be enough of shortening the prayer. So the fuqaha, like I said, have mentioned a certain surah. Now it doesn't mean that they have to read this surah. It is mustahab. Mustahab means it is good, but they can do outside of that also. So if, for example, if we imagine, let's say the Hanafi madhab, okay? The Maghrib Salah starts from Lam yakun alladhina, what is mustahab to read. Lam yakun alladhina is almost a page. Almost, depending on which Quran you read. It is 3/4 of a page to a page. Now think about it. If an Imam read 3/4 of a page to nearly a page in the first rakat in Maghrib, big complaints, isn't it? But this is within the boundaries of shortening the prayer. But then you look at the other surah, they are quite short. 3 lines, 4 lines, 5 lines, isn't it? So if Imam read 5 lines from another portion of the Quran, that is also fine. That is part of the takhfif salah, which the ulama, the scholars and the fuqaha have ordained, isn't it? And if you look at the Isha salah, Sabbih isma hal ataka, these are also, again, nearly one side each. And the habit of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam was not to half a surah, especially if it was just one side. If the surah, example, Sabbih isma or hal ataka was sama'i dhatil buruj, around one side, less than one side. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam's habit would not be that he half the surah. Example, it is hal ataka hadithul ghashiyah till وَزَرَابِيُّ مَبْثُوثَ in the first rakat, and then carries on half the next half the surah, the second half in the second rakat. He wouldn't do this. That is why ulama also mentioned that a full surah, if possible, should be recited in one rakat, and then a new surah in the next rakat, preferably. Obviously, if the surah is big, you're not going to read the whole thing, but preferably if it's not a large surah, and one side is not a large surah. So what happens is, this is why I'm talking about it. Even me, sometimes you feel lazy. You go to a masjid, you came back from work, or you had a busy day, then children, then you come for salah. And then the imam reads. Now, my physical condition, my personal condition, does not demand that the imam reads even less than this. Even less than this. You understand? There's a preferred amount. And if the imam reads a preferred amount anywhere in the Quran, that should be fine. There shouldn't be a complaint from us. I'm also a musalli, that this is too long. No, that is the sunnah. Now, unfortunately, today I am tired, but I have to take the hit. I have to say I was tired, but the imam didn't do anything wrong. Remember always, فَرُدُّوهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَالرَّسُولِ. Always refer it back to Allah and His Rasul. My personal condition does not demand what happens to everybody else's salah. Just like you understand, there is an old person, a young person, a weak person, a person in need. Yeah? Yeah, that's the base. After that then, if I'm worse than that, or if I'm just feeling tired, or if I'm ma'dur, some people are ma'dur, they can't hold wudu for longer than 5 minutes, then the rulings don't apply to them. Ulama and fuqaha made it easy for a ma'dur. Ma'dur is a person who is unable to keep wudu. The fuqaha made it so easy for them. They said, you make wudu in the beginning of the salah time, and then for that same reason your wudu lasts. So example, if a person doesn't stop bleeding for a whole salah time, yeah? He doesn't stop bleeding for a whole salah time, then the next salah, even if he bleeds once, example in the beginning, he will make wudu and he will ignore the bleeding. In the Hanafi madhab, he will ignore the bleeding. If a person cannot hold his wind inside, he can't hold his wind for longer than 5 minutes. And then he comes for Maghrib, the ruling is, for that wind condition, he just has to make wudu once in the beginning of the Maghrib Salah, and then it will last all the way till the Isha time comes in. He doesn't have to make wudu for wind. Yes, if something else breaks his wudu, then the wudu will be broken. You understand? So ma'dur people also do not dictate what happens, what the imam does. Now the imam, because you can hold your wudu for 5 minutes, the imam cannot make the salah 3 minutes. What about everybody else's salah? So you have to understand, we cannot go, the imam cannot be dictated according to what people want. Because people, I'm a musalli, so I hear everything. Some people will come and say, mashallah, the imam read a very nice long salah. They enjoy it. Some people enjoy the longer salah. And others say, it was too long. They want a shorter salah. Now if the imam goes, he wants long, he wants short, he wants this, he wants that, what's the namaz going to be? What's the salah going to be? It's going to be nothing. So it is very important that we allow the imam to stay upon the sunnah. We should let the sunnah of Rasulullah ﷺ and his salah dictate our salah. Then we will get the most reward. After that, in that there should be takhfif. If the imam goes outside the boundaries of the sunnah, then he will be committing something against the sunnah. But that is also something we need knowledge of. It cannot be our personal feelings. Many a times in the masjid, what happens? We let our personal feelings dictate. And we don't understand, maybe there is a Quran ayah in this issue, maybe there is a hadith in this issue, maybe the fuqaha have said something in this issue, and we say, no, I want it like this. And we are going against the Quran ayah. We are going against the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So before commenting, we should ask, like I said, ask the Imam. There must be a reason why the Imam is doing such a thing. Now, if we think about who's the Imam supposed to be. The Imam, why is he the Imam? There are so many people in the masjid, sometimes maybe 200-300, in Jumu'ah maybe more than 500-600. The Imam is the Imam because we think generally he is one of the most knowledgeable of all of us. Isn't it? That's what we think. He studied 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, and then he carries on continuing to study. This is his line. We all studied different lines, isn't it? Some people are doctors, some people are pharmacists, some people are lawyers, some people are whatever. Now the Imam, he has a speciality. He studied Islam, he studied Sharia. So if the Imam does something, and my first thought is, maybe this is not right, then the best course of action is to talk to the Imam. Say, Imam Sahib, you have done this today. Is there any reason why, nicely, is there any reason why you have done this? Instead of some people storm out the masjid and start complaining. And imagine you're complaining and you're wrong. Imagine you're complaining and you're wrong. So it is best first to go ask the Imam, Imam Sahib, you done this today, I learned something new. Why did you prefer to do this today? And then he will explain to you. I'm sure an Imam is not going to go against the Sunnah. An Imam is not going to go against the Sunnah on purpose. So either you will learn something, which is going to be 90% of the time, or 10% of the time the Imam might learn something. But somebody will always learn. Instead of going behind, outside the masjid and start complaining for no reason. Isn't it? So this is one example I'm giving. That whenever there is an issue which is a religious issue, a Islamic issue, it is a mas'ala, it is a ruling. How short or long should salah be? It is not a matter of opinion. I believe something, somebody else believes something. No, it is something we can look in the Quran and the Sunnah and find a proper answer. In masjid you have other issues also. One of the funny issues in the masjid, one of the funny issues in the masjid is opening windows, closing windows, isn't it? Now that's not an Islamic issue, that's common sense, isn't it? It's common sense. All we would say is that if you are feeling cold, and it's a hot day, and you're still feeling cold, let the brothers open the windows and you wear a coat. It's simple, isn't it? It's common sense. There's no need to open Quran and Sunnah and look for something in Bukhari here. No. It's common sense. That if it is a hot day, 25 degrees for us is hot, and you are feeling cold, and other brothers want to open the windows, then understand it's only me that's feeling cold, so I'll wear a coat, and I'll go to the middle of the masjid, where I'm away from the small amount of wind outside. You don't need an imam for that. That's a management issue, isn't it? So understand, whenever you face an issue, whether you agree or disagree, understand, is this got to do with Islam only? Will there be a Quran ayah or a hadith or a statement of a Sahabi, a scholar? Will there be something there? Or is this a common sense issue? Common sense issues, they should be sorted out by the committee. But there are certain issues which are Islamic. And then Islamic issues, if we feel the Imam is not doing it, then we'll approach the Imam. There's no point going behind, because maybe we will learn. Problem is we don't want to learn. Sometimes we don't have the understanding we want to learn. Go to the Imam, ask him, Imam Sahib, you know more than me. You have done this in the Salah, or you have done this, or you talked about this. Can I get more explanation on this issue? It's not hard, whatever the issue is. And that's the correct way to do it. That's the correct way to do it. And understand if it's a different issue, window, whatever it is, then that's a management issue. And there everybody can come and talk some common sense. Have a discussion, common sense prevails, and then we do what's best for everybody. Isn't it? It is quite simple. And there are certain things which take place in the masjid which are just outright wrong. It is wrong. It shouldn't be happening. It's not even an Islamic issue, just not even a common sense issue. People, Allahu A'lam, what's happening. So we should understand these few things. That whenever I speak, even ulama have to watch out. Not only normal people like us, ulama also. Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, he wrote a book called I'lamul Muwaqqi'in. Some people call it A'lamul Muwaqqi'in. Whatever the case is, it is a strange book. What it means, or what he's trying to explain in this book, is understand he's talking to ulama here, not normal people, not normal, not non-ulama. He's talking to scholars, Islamic scholars. He says that understand that when you are giving a ruling, you are actually saying this is what Allah wants us to do. When you are giving a ruling, you are saying this is what Allah wants us to do. So it is as if you are signing on behalf of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that this is what Allah wants us to do. You are signing on behalf of Him. So then, us people who have little knowledge, who are we now to start saying Salah should be like this, Taraweeh should be like this should be like this? We should have some shame in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and understand our lack of knowledge. There are a few things we have to think about. Do I know every Quran ayah in the Quran? Do I know? And am I aware? And do I have in my consciousness, in front of me, not hafiz, we're talking ilm. We're not talking about a hafiz of Quran here. We're talking about ulama, which is a higher level. Do I understand and can I remember and can I comprehend every single Quran ayah right now? Do I know a lot of ahadith? Have I studied ahadith? Have I studied the chapter of this particular ruling in different books of ahadith and in the books of the fuqaha and ulama? If I haven't, then maybe I should just hold my opinion to myself. If I haven't. Because it is possible when I state my opinion, I will be going against the Quran, the ahadith, and that is very dangerous for me. Islamic issues. So we have to understand in our minds the difference between Islamic issues, which I should not comment on, unless I have studied that topic thoroughly, under ulama first of all, preferably. And then understand common sense issues, like I mentioned the window, it is a joke, but it happens in our masjid. Isn't it? The window issue is famous in our masjid. So the window issue. So that's a common sense issue. That should just be a small discussion among ourselves and come to a solution. Nobody needs to quote Quran ayat here. I mean, they can, but you don't really need to, isn't it? It's a common sense issue. So this is something I just wanted to let people switch people on here. Because this is one example I gave of salah, but again it can be very general. It can be very general. So when we come into the masjid and we feel, not we know, we feel that salah is long or we feel that salah is short, take a step back, put our feelings aside and think, was the salah actually long? Was the salah actually short? What is a short salah according to Sharia? What is a long salah according to Sharia? What did Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam prefer to read in Isha, Maghrib, Fajr? It's not something I should say from my own side. Otherwise what will happen is, imagine the Imam is reading the Sunnah of what Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would read and what the fuqaha have given preference to. That this is what should be read in Maghrib, and I come along and say, no, Imam is reading too long. Who am I? Isn't it? Who am I? So this is one example I'm giving. It's not the main issue. This is one example. We have to understand our position, how much knowledge we have, how much we still have to learn. And the Imam most likely knows more than me. We have Imams, elder Imams, experienced Imams, they most likely know more than me. So if I feel sometimes something, and it's an Islamic issue, before complaining, maybe I should approach the Imam and ask him, okay, why did you choose to do it? Not as an objection, but as a true question, as a student of knowledge. Or Imam Sahib, you read this. I'm just wondering why you read this in Salah. Or if we have an issue in a bayan, sometimes we might have heard something somewhere else, and we heard an issue in a bayan here, then ask nicely, or I've heard this somewhere else, can you please clarify the issue here? And then you will learn. Always when you have something in your mind, a question or sometimes an objection because you heard something somewhere else, then come with the approach of a student of knowledge. Not as a person who's coming to object, a judge, but come with the mind of a student of knowledge, and then we will learn. Like I said, 95% of the learn we will learn. And maybe 5% of the time the Imam might learn something new. There's always things to learn. You might know one issue. It is possible. A person might learn one issue that the Imam doesn't know. It's very possible. Isn't it? But generally the Imam will know and we won't know. Isn't it? That's the standard. That's why he's the Imam and we are not. That's the truth, isn't it? So we have to understand what is my position, what is my role. I am here to learn. If the Imam does something, he has learned for 6, 7, 8, 10 years and then carried on, like Imam said, 60 plus. So he must have been reading for a good 40 years now. So if he's reading this particular things for 40 years and he's experienced the issue, who will know more, him or me? And sometimes what happens is, and I mentioned it slightly in the khutbah today, the worst akhlaq and character is shown by religious people. Because there's a little bit of pride and arrogance and haughtiness in a person who Allah has given tawfiq to, and you don't attribute it to Allah, but we attribute it to ourselves. Some pride, some haughtiness is created. And then we become quite quick to judge. The akhlaq also lowers. And then because there is a big contrast between, if a person is not religious outwardly, and then they have bad character, there's not a massive contrast. But when a person is religious, and then he has terrible akhlaq, there's a huge contrast. So people see it and spot it easier. It's spotted easier. So it is important that we understand, first it's the mental challenges, that we understand what is a religious issue, what is a common sense issue, what is a common sense issue. Common sense issue, we don't need the imam. We don't need the imam, we can just talk among ourselves. We're talking about the windows opening, closing. Common sense issue. But then, if the example, the khutbah is long or short, the salah is long or short, which salah is long or short, Taraweeh, imam is reading fast, or these are all masail, they are rulings, they are ahkam. They are not up to our opinions. Many a time people think it's our opinion game. The Taraweeh imam read too fast, or the Taraweeh imam read too slow. Have you even read anything on this subject? No, I just felt it. And many a time, it can be an issue. When you say, we got work in the morning. We got work in the morning. And then they will bring the hadith, which I mentioned of Mu'adh ibn Jabal before. But remember, it's not the exact same. Mu'adh ibn Jabal read Isha. Then he came and he read Isha again. So there's already a delay in time. Then he never read 1 page, 2 pages. He started reading Surah Al-Baqarah. Surah Al-Baqarah. And he must have read quite long for the other person to cut his salah off and then read his own salah. The Imam is not reading Surah Al-Baqarah, meaning like not the full thing. He won't even read half a para, not even a quarter. So sometimes people compare that situation, that hadith, to an Imam reading 2-3 sides. Now what the Imam should read or not read, we're not talking, I've just given a brief overview of the understanding. When it is an Islamic issue, fourth time I'm saying this, Islamic issue, ask the Imam nicely, okay, you have done this, can I please learn about it? A non-Islamic issue, we should be able to figure out ourselves, inshallah, as long as we can control our tempers and be calm, cool, and come to a good understanding among us. So Allah give us this understanding, that it shouldn't be that from my tongue an opinion comes out that is against the Quran, against the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, against the actions of the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum, and against the statements of the fuqaha and the ulama. That shouldn't take place. That I am arguing over an issue when I am the ignorant one. I am arguing over an issue and I am the ignorant one. That shouldn't happen. There is a space for certain times when we can speak. It's just a common sense issue, we can give our opinion, isn't it? Example, the masjid had mashallah, they had the redevelopment program. Now anybody with a sane mind can give an opinion. I believe the masjid should offer this, I believe the masjid should offer this. You are free and welcome, everybody is free and welcome to give opinions. But understand, when it comes to rulings of Sharia, then first we should learn. Our personal opinions do not matter here. First we should learn, come with a mindset of learning from the scholars, and then we will gain some understanding of the subject. Many a time, just on personal feelings, we just object, or we comment. And that is not good when we are commenting against something which everybody else has agreed upon, and I'm going off my personal feelings. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us tawfiq. Subhanallah bihamdi, subhanakallah bihamdi, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta.
Why can't it say to Hafiz or someone come over here? Because people make mistakes. They talked about this before.